I'd like to say Shabbat Shalom to everyone again. This is Akika Daweed here at Absolute Knowledge. I'd like to invite you to this Torah review for this week, and it is dealing with the idea of Ra'eh, meaning to see. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Delightful. Thank you. So we've been traveling through the Torah for the last several months. And, this in particular cycle we're in the book of Deuteronomy. And it's been a wonderful book, a wonderful scroll, wonderful words, wonderful understandings that we've been receiving from the Most High. And we're going to continue to stay on this path. It's very important for us to be consistent in our learning in order for us to completely understand what the Most High is saying. And it takes time. So don't be too hard on yourself if you hear or see things that you've never seen or heard before and which you quite don't understand. When we go on these cycles and we go around and around and we're learning some of the same things that we learned last year. We're adding to what we learned last year or the year before. And so, don't feel left out if there's some things that you don't understand. Just understand this. You should be excited because you're on the path. You're on a Torah cycle. A majority of the people who follow the Torah around the world are on a cycle. Some may be a little bit ahead of others. Like I said, you might hear people talking about, another Torah portion versus what we're going over. Um, I particularly like to take our time so we can get more of an understanding. I don't like to run through the Torah. I like to actually take our time when we get to our destination. So every week we're going to a different destination. And so this week we're looking at a word called re'eh. The actual chapter begins with talking about this re'eh. That's the first word of our Torah portion. And re'eh is a command, and it means to see. That's what it means. It means to see, right? And so, you would look at that and say, okay, well, what do you mean by seeing? Well, it's a matter of opening our eyes, opening our understanding, trying to accept what it is that the Most High has spoken. And often we don't get an opportunity to do this. He's not talking about like you can't see, like your eyes are not already open, right? Like you have eyes you can see, but this see is different. This is more of a divine see. This is a divine understanding. Okay. So, and it has to come from the Most High. So, since Moshe is speaking it, it's the word that he's received from the Most High. These are not things that he's just saying on his own. He's not motivated by himself to speak these things. He's saying these things because he understands how important it is for the children of Israel to understand about the things in which he's going to talk about. Okay. So basically, a quick review over what you've learned this week. Chapters 11 through 12 is talking about this Hebrew word called a baraka. A baraka. Okay. Chapter number 13 is dealing with what they would call a nelaka. Nelaka. And a nelaka means we will walk after. Okay. That ne right there is we, the lock or the la is the walk, and ka means after, right? So we're walking after. Chapter number 14 is with this word called toeva. Okay, toeva. So the toeva is the abominations. And these are not all the ideas that are found in these chapters, but these are the areas that I think stood out the most to me. Okay. And some of you may have got something different, right? And that's okay, So don't feel like everything I'm saying is the only thing that needs to be understood. Like the Most High can only deal with me. He's dealing with all of us. And what he's doing is he's using all of us to come together and support one another in our learning and our understanding. Okay. Chapter number 15 deals with the Yadim. Okay. The Yadim, some you may hear that's dealing with, the Shemitah. And so, side note, Riqua, there is the Yeshilakha, the Amika, the Batu, the Hadelit. So 15 is dealing with the Yadim, and the Yadim is dealing with the hands. And chapter number 16 is dealing with what we would call the Ha Makom, meaning the place. Okay. So these are all the different ideas that we want to talk about today. I'm not going to give you a real long presentation of these areas. I just want to touch them a little bit. Okay. The reason why we're going to start off with the Baraka is because it's the first thing that was mentioned, right? To see the Baraka. He wants us to see the Baraka, which is the blessing, and he wants us to see the curse, the Hakwalala, right? So the Hakwalala is not something that we're talking about today, which is the curse. So the blessing pretty much has everything to do with the land. Okay. This is what we need to understand about the blessing, the baraka. The baraka has to do with the land. Okay. It's not just an abstract term that, just means, well, I'm going to bless you or be blessed. Last week, I stated something and I don't know how it was received. I really don't quite know how it was received. I know it may come to a shock to a lot of us that, I say we're not able to bless. And so I want to give a little bit more clarity, okay? Because sometimes I say things, people may take it out of context, they may look at it wrong, and it's not, they're not doing it on purpose. They just may not understand what I'm saying. And that could be a fault of my own because I know it. And so I'm thinking everyone should know it, but it's something that needs to, be talked about and to be discussed, okay? So that's what we're going to do right quick. We're going to talk about what the Baraka is, okay? Okay. Um, Also, too, I want you to understand when you read your Torah portions, I want you to look for certain clues. Number one, we're talking about these commands, right? So in your Torah portion, it's not just Moshe is just talking. He's just not talking, everyone. He's giving commands. He's giving charges in which the Most High wants them to know. He's saying, like, for example, he's letting them know what the blessings of Yahweh is. And Yahweh is the one who's going to command these blessings. Okay. There were commands that were given to the ears, the mouth, the hands, and the eyes. Okay. We're given commands to the ears about reporting. There's a command to report certain things. And if you weren't paying attention, you won't, and you didn't hear it, then you won't be able to report it, right? But he wants us to be on guard about that, right? And he gives us commands with dealing with our mouth. More specifically, when we're talking about the mouth, we're talking about consumption. And in our Torah portion, I don't have a slide for it, but it dealt with the idea of eating, right? Eating was mentioned over 41 times. The Hebrew word for eating is called a call, and it means to eat or to devour, to consume. And there's a lot of other ideas that go along with eating, but that was something that he wants to give us a command for. And also, too, there's the command for the hands, and this deals with the actions in which one sends their hands, which we're going to talk a little bit about as we go along. Chapter number, I'm saying chapter, the eyes, okay, is dealing with the recognition and the awareness. So overall, what we're looking at, everyone, is how you and I are working within Yahweh's framework. He's not just looking for us to be a people that are just listening to him and not doing anything. He's not looking for people who just understand what they can eat, what they can. He's looking to overall, an overall, the whole entire person, the whole entire soul, the whole entire body. Okay. And how that works together and how that's going to work within the land in order for it to function correctly, dealing with the blessings of Yahweh, right? So all of this has to do with the blessings of Yahweh. Okay, your mouth has to do with the blessings of Yahweh. Your ears are to listen so you can protect the blessings of Yahweh. Your hands are used in order to receive the blessings of Yahweh and to distribute the blessings of Yahweh. Our eyes are there to be able to recognize what Yah has done, right? And so we're going to talk about that. So all of our senses, or what they call our five senses, and here I have four, but all of them are really they're activated when we're dealing with Yahweh's commands. Okay. All right. So when we continue to go through our Torah portion today, pretty much every slide, I'm going to tell you to see. It's about opening up our eyes to understand. And one of the things that I think that we need to really truly understand is the order. Okay, this was something that stuck out to me and talked in Deuteronomy chapter number 12, verse number 8. It says that you will not do things the way that we do them here today, where everyone does what is in his own opinion seems right. The correct interpretation of this is that every person, every individual is not doing what he thinks is in his own opinion. He's doing what he sees, what they see. Okay. It's not their opinion. It's not what they think. It's what they see. Okay. What they see to be right or hayashar to be what is considered to be upright in their own eyes. Right. So he's saying, look, once we, transition out of the wilderness into this land, you need to understand that you just can't do the things that you're doing now, right? Because um, it's not going to be advantageous to you. It's not going to be conducive to the order that the Most High has set. So everything about the Most High is about structure. Okay. That's what it's about. And so this right here could be a problem for a lot of us because a lot of us don't understand the order and we don't understand the structure. We want to, do the things that we want to do. We want to, whatever seems right in our opinion, right? And how we see it from our viewpoint, from our perspective. When you and I are included or we're part of Yah's people and we're part of his family, we can't do the things that we think is right. We have to do the things that how he sees it. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. So now, since we're dealing with this idea of not, doing what we believe is right in our own eyes, we need to understand what a blessing is. Okay. A lot of us don't know what a blessing is. We've been taught as a child, hey, God bless you. And it's been very abstract. There's really no, concrete meaning. But here in the Hebrew culture, we're dealing with these ideas, which each one of these letters represents. So in the Hebrew here, we have the bet, the resh, and the kaf. Okay. And they're all right here. There's the bet, there's the resh, and there is the kaf. Okay. The final kaf, which the bet represents this letter B in English. Okay. I'm transliterating. Okay. I'm not translating, I'm transliterating. Transliteration means that I'm going to take a letter from another language and I'm going to put it in the language that you understand. Okay. So the first letter of the word barak or for blessing is this letter bait right here. And bait represents a family. Okay. Very simple, straightforward. Okay. Easy to remember. The reason why it's a family is because the bait in Hebrew represents a tent. So if you were looking straight down on this letter right here, it would be what they would consider a tent. And the tent would be these walls right here on the side here, and back here. And then when you walk into the tent, it would be walking right through those doors, and this is where you would be, right here in the center. Okay. That's where you will dwell. So the bait is used for the word for family or tent, okay, represented by the English letter B. Same sound, okay? So what am I saying? They're equivalent. Okay, they're equivalent in their sound, right? But in English, the letter B doesn't tell you about a family. You don't even understand. You're like, what? Letter B? Well, how do you get B in family? You don't even see the letter B in family. There's nothing a B in the family. You know what I'm saying? So it's confusing, right? And that's because the English language doesn't have any culture behind it because it's been taken from all different cultures. It's been taken from the Latin, it takes from the German, it takes from the Greeks, it takes from all these other cultures. Okay. And so what we're doing here is we're helping ourselves understand what a blessing is and what do these letters actually mean. Okay. The next letter that we're going to talk about for Barak, which is talking about blessing. Okay. The word for bless is Barak. Okay. So that letter right there is they're called a resh. And the resh here is an R in English. Okay. Which is right here. Okay. And so what we have there is the resh, okay? And resh means heads. That's what it means. It means the heads of something. So are we talking about the heads of the family? Yes, we could be talking about that, okay? Because if we did put those two letters together, if we put this letter, the resh and the beit together, we would have what they call bar, or we would have the word called the rav. If I was to reverse the letters and put a R and a B together, that would mean a master of the house, which would be the head of the family. Okay. So that's part of it, right? So that's another idea. The final letter here is called a final kaf, and it has a K sound in it, right? Ka, right? That's why it's ba or rock. That's that k, okay? And the kaf is the palm of the hand, right? So what we do with the palm of the hand is pretty much we put something in it. We control things with the palm of our hand. We investigate, by putting things in our hand and looking at it. Once it's in our palm, we We can crush up a seed and look at it and determine what it is, or, we use the palm of the hand to discipline. We use the palm of the hand to take hold of. We use the palm of the hand for all those different things. So that's the function of that letter. Okay. So basically, the palm is for possession, and what we're going to possess is what you would call the heads of the family. Okay. Now, the heads of the family in this context is dealing with what they would call, and I got to pull up another slide right quick to tell you what heads of the family I'm talking about. Okay. The heads of the family that we're discussing is dealing with grain. That's the heads of the family. The top heads of the grain families. So you have all these different types of grains. The you have the wheat, you have the barley, right? You have these different grain types. And so that's what the Barak has to deal with. It has to do with grain. It has to do with filling, because that's what grain does. Grain fills what? It fills the stomach. What does grain do? Grain sustains an individual, right? And so when we're talking about blessing, the ancient Hebraic understanding is dealing with grain, okay? And the grain is used to fill, okay? And not only do the people eat the grain, the animals eat the grain, right? So they're made full by the grain, right? So this is what a Barak has to deal with, okay? Now, the idea of, filling, okay, with the Hebrew is talking about a gift, okay? So there's certain letters in here that have to do with what they would call the knee, okay? They use the word Barak for the knee, okay? And when a person is going to present, okay, I'm talking about your actual knee that you have, that you use for bending. When a person is Barak, they have grain, okay? Once they have that grain, they can get full off the grain. They can fill the grain, right? They could take the grain, use the grain for soap. They can use the stalks of grain after they're finished crushing it down. The shaft is left over. You take the heads of the grain, you crush them, you get the wheat out of it. Then you take whatever's left over and then you burn it and then you make a soap out of it in order to make you clean. Okay. That's where you get the bar. Here, this word right here in English will be bar. And we could say a bar of what? That's why they call your soap a bar of soap. Because that's what it is, a bar. Where they get the bar from? They get it from the grain. What is the grain used for? The grain is used to fill, and the grain is used to fill you and the animals. Okay. And even the birds, they eat grain too. Okay. So once you have this grain, you then take that grain, all right, and you fill your hands. Okay. You're going to fill your hands with the grain. Okay. So literally, you're going to fill your hand with a gift of grain, and you're going to take that grain and you're going to present that grain and you're going to give that grain on a bended knee. So when it talks about how the nations are going to, bless Abraham, okay, that means that they're going to come and they're going to bend the knee to Abraham's descendants. And when they come to the descendants of Abraham, they're going to bear gifts. And what gifts are they going to bear? They're not only going to bear the gifts of grain, they're going to bring the gifts of silver and gold. Okay. They're going to bring this. What color is grain? Somebody tell me.
So,
Gold. Do you not know that the word for gold, zahav, actually comes from the color of grain? Okay. So your wealth is not just in the metal, your wealth is also in the food, the grain, and that's the gift. Okay. And so what you do with the gift is you're going to give this gift of grain that would be given to you in order to sustain and to give you life to you and your animals. Okay. So again, I always extend apology to people who don't understand why I say what I say, right? Not that I'm doing it intentionally. Sometimes I'll just be talking and I was like, well, you know what? I thought, maybe they know, maybe they don't. I've talked about it before, but that doesn't mean everyone else who's come along later that they know. So if you guys hear me go over it, it's because I want to, make sure that everyone has a complete understanding, right? So the idea behind a blessing everyone has to do with giving a gift. And that gift is grain, and that grain is what brings life to the family. Okay? So when the Most High talks about blessing us, then that's what he's talking about. Because if you don't have this grain, you will not survive. If you don't have this grain, you will not be able to continue living. Because in Hebrew, your life is your what? Somebody tell me. What's your life in Hebrew? Don't you forget it. All of us have one. What is your life? What's your life?
Stomach.
It's your stomach. Yes, Kill.
Yeah, when you're talking about grain here, are you literally talking about grain itself, like what comes from bread and things like that, or is grain representing like the all the food that we're supposed to be able to make and provide for ourselves?
No, I'm actually literally talking about the grain that comes from the land that you make, breads and stuff from, right? So there's grain that's in the land. There's barley that's inside the land that is used to make bread. Yes. And it's used to fill the animals, right? Is used to because that's what they eat.
Oh, I see. So it's not particularly for us to consume, but for us to feed our animals so we can feed off of the animals.
Well, that too. We both eat grain and we both uh, you know, they eat grain and we eat grain, and then sometimes you have to eat them too, right? You have a choice. He says you can eat them if you want, if your soul desires to eat basar, which is flesh, then you should do that, right? So my point behind this is that we need to understand what a blessing is. So when someone says God bless you, you don't supposed to go, "Oh, thank you, God bless you." That's idolatry. That's idolatrous because you're not really pointing directly what the blessing is. You're saying something that's not true, and you're accepting something that's not true. So if you don't have the courage when someone says God bless you, if you don't have the courage to tell them, which you should, to say, well, can I explain to you, so, a reason why I can't accept that? Then you can help them understand. Because when it comes time for us to, go back into our role in our position of teaching the nations, you're going to have to open your mouth. And that's not going to be a miracle. It's going to be, it's what it is. So I've had people that I have to try to correct and tell them, like, no, I can't accept that. And I'll tell them why. Not in a mean way, just like, hey, can I take the time? I hope you wouldn't mind for me to express something to you about what you just said. It's like we're so willing to accept everything from people. If we know the truth, why do we keep, placating and being silent on that which is right and which is true? You shouldn't, downplay or minimize the truth that you know so you can fit in into their, their program, right? So that's what it is. Okay. I want to deal a little bit too about the authorization of the individual or individuals who have the power to bless. Okay. So as my list you see right here, um, there's individuals here that have the power to bless, right? Number one, Yah himself has blessed creation and he's blessed the animals and humanity, and he actually blessed the Shabbat day. He blessed that day. Okay. You and I don't have the power to do that. Okay. Melchizedek, which was a priest that came to Abraham in chapter number 14, he blessed Abraham. He blessed him. And why was he able to bless him? Because he was a priest of Elyon, which is Most High Yah. He was blessing him by a power that was conferred to him in order to have the authorization to do so. Okay. Moshe and Aharon and his sons, their whole and complete lineage, they're the only ones who have the power to bless. And how they're going to do it for how long? For Olam. They're of a priesthood. Okay. Your Torah portion is not mentioned, but later on, as we continue in our journey of the Devarim, these are the 6 individuals or representatives of these families that are able to bless, right? And then the only time they bless is one time. And that's when they go on the Mount of Gerizim that they were commanded to do. Chapter number 11, where they were commanded to do a blessing. He says, when you get here, you're going to pronounce a blessing on the mountain of Gerizim. And then he says, and also too, you're going to put a curse on Mount Ebal. But he doesn't tell you who's going to do it until you get in chapter number 27. Okay. So I took the liberty of going to chapter number 27 and find out who is it that's going to pronounce the blessing over on the mountain and who's going to pronounce the curses. So these are the 6 individuals right here out of the family of Yisrael who are supposed to, and representatives. Shimon wasn't there himself. Levi wasn't there. They all died in Mitzrayim. Yehuda died in Mitzrayim. Yissachar died. Yosef died. Benjamin died. Where did they die? They died in Mitzrayim. It is descendants that are the representatives of these tribes to go and pronounce that. But that's only one time for that purpose, to do what he asked them to do when they crossed over the Yarden. That's it. They're not there to continually bless the people. So they don't have no authorization. The other place that we find that the Most High is allowing someone to bless someone is Yethro, Moshe's father-in-law, comes and he blesses the name of Yahweh. But what was he? He was a priest. He was a priest that had authorization to do so. Balaam, what was he? He was a servant of the Most High, a seer, and he went and he blessed the children of Israel on behalf of Yahweh. He said, I'm only going to say what Yahweh has commanded me to say. And as you know, Balak got angry with him because he blessed the people instead of cursing them. Okay? So he reiterates the blessings of Yah. Now, when we're talking about you, I want you to understand something. Us. The only time that you and I will be able to even bless Yahweh, okay, is when we're restored back into our land. That's the only time. Because the land that you and I are in right now is defiled. And you and I are on punishment. And you and I need to accept this. This is the reason why we're commanded, right, to do everything that he said. And you and I need to understand the idea behind restoration. When you and I deny that we're in a land of our captivity, you deny the fact that you're eating defiled bread, you deny the fact that the Yah is not with you, then you fully don't understand what the Most High is communicating to us. Okay, so when you read your Torah portion this week, you're like, well, how does this apply to me? You know, blessing of your hand, I'm going to explain a little bit more to you. It says that also to the ability, when you and I get back to the land, we would have an ability and we would have the duty, which we call a responsibility, to be able to transfer whatever comes in from our hands after we're restored. You can transfer a blessing to someone else. And what do I mean by that? What are you, when I say you're going to be able to transfer, what am I talking about? Someone give me an idea of what I'm talking about, since it's not abstract.
Maybe the inheritance that you gain while you live it.
Okay. So take what we just learned about what a blessing is. So how am I going to be able to, what am I going to transfer?
Your land, your animals.
Yes, you're going to transfer the land. You're going to be able to give to the people that are in need. You're going to be, the Lewiim will never have an inheritance with the children of Israel. You're always going to have to transfer something from your hand. You're going to have the ability to do it, and you'll have the duty and responsibility to transfer something to this in particular family. You're going to bring them the grain, not only Kohanim, but the Leviim as well. You're also going to provide the grain for the who? What classifications of people are we going to have to do that with? Who's Most High concerned with? The poor, the needy, the widow, the fatherless, right? The stranger. Why? Why is he concerned with them? Because they are in a position, they're in a very vulnerable state. The widow doesn't have anyone that is protecting her or working on her behalf. You see, so she has to go do that herself, and it's not easy. Okay, being a widow is not easy. It never has, it never will be. Okay. So the idea behind you and I going around saying that I bless you, I'm going to bless the Most High, you don't have the power to bless Yahweh. Not, you don't. You don't have the power right now to bend a knee with something in your hand to give a gift to Yahweh. Yes, Kel.
I was thinking, I actually sometimes I feel a little bit triggered when people say blessed nowadays because they just throw that word off like it doesn't mean anything to them. Like they'll say like I got blessed with a car, I got blessed with a new job. You know, the blessings that they associate within the nations now is not the blessings that we see as the nation of Israel.
Right. So speaking to your point, it tells you that you're set apart because the way that you're thinking about it is different. So that right there is evidence that you are definitely set apart. You're being set apart. This is what he's talking about. So for us, we're not so cavalier to say, well, God, God just blessed me, or Yah just blessed me. He blessed me with a car, he blessed me with this, he blessed. No. I tell everyone, and I'll say it over and over and over again, it is his mercy. It's Yah's compassion. It's his kindness that he's showing us. So we can't cross those things. We can't conflate those two ideas because the word for bless and the word for kindness are two different words. They're understand Hebraically two different. We can't mix and match. That's what I'm saying. So if we understand this and we understand this order, remember, we can't do things that we see as right in our own eyes that we're doing today. You can't do that anymore. I can't do that no more. I got to catch myself. When I'm talking, I say, this is a blessing. No, it's not a blessing. It's a kindness. It's a compassion. It's a mercy that Yah has shown. So this is what I'm talking about. Okay? You don't have the power, neither do I. We need to see the people. Very important. We have to. This is a command, a divine command to see. I want you to see the people. For Yahweh our Elohim is testing you in order to find out whether you really do love Yahweh Elohim with all your heart and being. Now, when he talks about loving him and Yahweh with all your heart and being, what comes to your mind? What command comes to your mind? In Deuteronomy chapter number 6, verse number 4, what does it say, somebody? Deuteronomy chapter number 6, verse number 4, what does it say? Get your Bible.
Isn't
Deuteronomy.
it love your
Hear, O
creator with all your
Israel,
heart?
the Lord our God is one Lord, and thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might.
Thank you. Okay. So here, the Most High is testing you to find out whether or not you are going to obey the command of the Shema. And he's going to use people to find out whether or not you really do love him. This idea of really do love him is not what it says in Hebrew. He's asking if there exists any love of Yahweh in you. Okay. And the heart is your mind. He wants to know if there's any love in your mind. All of your mind. Do you love Yahweh with all your mind? That's the test. That is the test. He's testing. It's never going to stop. It's always going to be there. Okay. He's going to see if there's that love, if you're going to look towards him, if you're going to look towards his house. Okay. This heart right here is your mind. Because in Hebrew, it's not your heart that's in your chest, it's your mind. And your mind is your mindset. It's your way that you think. Okay. But there was something interesting that I found in our Torah portion this week about your being. Okay. In Hebrew, is talking about the word nefesh. Okay. Okay. So your nefesh. Your nefesh is your what? Somebody tell me.
That's your soul.
It's your soul. Now, I want you to listen very carefully to me. When Yah says that I want to know, I'm testing the mind. I want to see if there's love for me in the mind. Right? So if there's love for him in the mind, that means that you're going to do what he says. Right? That means that your mind is on his thoughts. You're thinking about his ways. You're meditating upon what he has said. The being was something that I found to be interesting because I know what the nephesh means. It means that it's your life. But we read in our Torah portion this week that there's something in the nephesh. Because, okay, or where, no, excuse me, the nephesh is in something. Okay. So the nephesh is the soul, right? And so we found this week in our Torah portion when he says, I need you to pour out the blood because there's the nephesh inside of the blood. In English, it'll tell you that the life is inside of the blood, but it's not the life, it's the nephesh, it's the soul. So the soul is the blood, it's in the blood. So the blood that's in the soul, okay? Excuse me, the soul is in the blood, excuse me. So this is something that you need to really think about and meditate on, okay? If the Most High is testing us, he's trying to see if there's in your being any love in your blood. Because if he's saying in your nefesh, he's talking about your soul, he's talking about what's in the soul. Your soul is in your blood. So he's trying to test to see if you love him, if you're loving him and looking about what he said in your mind and in your blood. Not your basar, not your flesh. He's talking about what's in your blood. You say, well, how do you get that, Akika? Well, the soul is your nephesh, okay? And what's in your blood is your nephesh. The soul is in the blood. So the blood that's going through our bodies right now, that's where your soul travels. That's where your soul is going back and forth through all of your organs. When he said, don't drink the blood, just pour it out on the ground like water, right? When you had to make an offering, the soul that's inside, the nephesh that's inside the blood of the animals, their soul is in their blood, okay? This is when he said that you can't just pour their blood out anywhere. If you're going to make a sacrifice, you got to bring to the place that I tell you. So what we need to understand is when the Most High is asking us about the love, he's looking for the mind, which is the thought and the intellect. He's looking for how you're going to, think about him and your decision making, right? But he's also talking about what's traveling inside of your body. When he talks about all your being, he's talking about your blood. So your mind and your blood is what he's looking for. And what he's looking for is if you love me, you say, well, what does my blood have to do with love? Here's the best part. Our being, right? Our nephesh. He mentions our nephesh that said that your nephesh would want to eat. It's her that wants to eat, okay? The nephesh is feminine in nature. She's going to desire to want to eat meat. And in Hebrew, it says that you should give her what she's at, whatever she desires, right? But he's also telling us that the blood, right? The blood is the carrier of the nephesh. So if when you and I eat something that is against him, you're going against him when you eat pork because now you have contaminated toeva, means you have brought an abomination into your bloodstream. Do you hear when you eat something that is being digested, is going into your bloodstream, your soul is being affected by that which is in your bloodstream because that's where your soul is. Your soul is in your blood. You understand? So it's imperative. This is the reason why he said that I don't want you to eat these detestable abominations because that's going into your blood. So if you really love him, if there's love that exists within you, because existing means that it's in you, it's in your mind and it's in your bloodstream. It's in your blood, it's in your nafshika, right? So if it's in there, you have to show Yah your love by what you put into your bloodstream. You have to show your love by what you're allowing into your mind. And you're using your mouth in order to bring this into your bloodstream. Your mouth is a gateway into your bloodstream. Your eyes are a gateway into your soul. You understand? It's all there. Your ears on hearing, you hearing into your mind. Your eyes are gateways. They're directly connected to your brain. That you're getting messages. Your ears are receiving information into your mind, which you would call your brain. Here they say it's your heart, because that's how they understood it, right? In the Hebrew, it's the mind, it's the inner authority. So all your gateways, all your ways and your passageways need to be guarded. And the thing is does this exist in these areas? Does it exist in your thinking? And does it exist in your bloodstream? I broke it down from just being your soul to tell you where your soul is. Your soul is in your blood. That's the reason why he's mentioning why, be careful what you eat, what you're consuming. Now, here's an example of the people that you and I need to watch out for. Okay. He said, you are to stone him to death because he has tried to draw you away from Yahweh, your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mizraim, out of the life of slavery. Okay. So he tells you about the Navi Nicolaim. The Navi Nicolaim is a prophet, or what they would call a dreamer of dreams. And he says they give you some sign or wonder, and it comes about as predicted. And he said, let's go follow. That's the Nelakah. Let's go follow after all these other gods that you don't know. Let us go serve them. He mentions the ones that you don't know is because those are not the gods of the God of your fathers. And he's always saying your God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of Reuven, the God of Shimon, Levi, Yehudah, Yissachar, Zevulun, Gad, Dan, Asher, Naphtali, Benjamin, Yosef, and Ephraim and Manasseh. They don't know these gods. You understand? Your father, Abraham, did not know these gods. Yitzchak didn't know these gods. Yaakov did not know these gods. And they're trying to draw you away. They're trying to literally force you off of the path. That's what it says in Hebrew. They're going to push you and drive you off. And it's going to happen by someone who's going to come, a Navi, a prophet. He's going to come and he's going to be able to make a miracle for you. He'll be able to give you a miracle, a sign, and he'll even be able to do a miracle. He'll be able to open the eyes of the blind. He'll be able to take a piece of bread and feed 5,000. He'll be able to, apparently raise someone from the dead. And the Most High said, I'm using him or them to find out if there is the love that you have for me. You understand? I got there Akika, because it talks about your brother. If Akika or Ureaka, which is your companion, your best friend, they try to secretly entice you. They try to come to you in a very private way to get you to move away from the way that Most High said, away from the one who brought you out of the land of Mizraim. This is the key. The Most High mentions who brought you out. He mentions this because he's taking you from out of a life of slavery. So what he's telling us is that the Navi, which is the prophet, or the Kolaim, which is the dreamer, or Akika, your brother, or your neighbor, or your companion, your best friend, or even your Isha, which is your wife, your Binka, which is your son, or your Batika, which is your daughter, when any of these people, what they want to do when they're talking about coming to you secretly, they're trying to bring you back into idolatry, which means that you're going back into slavery. Slavery and idolatry are literally synonymous. That's the reason why we're in the lands of our enemies, and that's the reason why we have been taken to be going to slavery. Because we are involved in idolatry. It's because we have listened to these individuals who've come along and tried to move us away and draw us away from Yahweh. And he's saying you got to watch out for these people. A matter of fact, he tells you don't consent to the person who came to you secret. Why secret, Akika? Why would they come to you secretly? Because they don't want to be seen. Going back to the Re'eh, this is the reason why I said Most High to give you a command to open your eyes. So when someone does come to you in a very quiet way where they're not seen, okay? He says, do not consent. Do not have a willingness, okay? Do not show them any pity. Don't spare them and don't conceal them from what? Any sight. You have to make that which is in secret come out in the open. So as beautiful as your wife is, and as wonderful as a friend you have, like your own nefeshka, like your own soul, okay, you're not going to listen to these individuals. You do not consent. I put here list, but it's not list, it's listen. Do not listen to them. Because if you listen to them, then that means that you have not listened to the Shema. So he's telling you and I, if you and I are listening to anyone other than what he said, the Most High said, I'm testing you to find out if the love of me exists in your mind and in your bloodstream. So you and I would think that it has to be as clear as let's go serve other gods. Because no one's going to come out and say that, right? What they're going to do is this. They're going to get you to go eat something. It's not going to hurt you. Often, I mean, I think, I don't know if Rivka told me this, but someone told me that someone was so angry with them because of the lifestyle changes that they made that what they did was they secretly took them out to dinner and didn't tell them there was pork in their food. They do stuff like that. You understand? He's saying that they're going to come to you in a way that you and I are thinking they're just going to come out and say, hey, let's go serve these other gods. No, he's literally talking about anytime anyone comes to you and tries to draw you away from what your Yahweh, your Elohim, they're going to try to draw you away from the Sabbath day and going to tell you that it's not important. They're going to tell you that every day is the Sabbath. They're going to tell you that you could do whatever you want to do on this day. They're going to try to get you away from the one who brought you out. They're moving you away from Yahweh. They're going to tell you that someone else came to die for your sins. They're going to tell you that, you're saved by faith and all you need to do is believe. They're going to tell you all these different things. But the Most High has given this as a way to test you and I, to find out if you and I, if there is love for him that exists in our minds and our thought, and also in our bloodstream, which has to do with the food that we eat and the decisions that we're making in our lives. Okay. He wants you and I to see the abominations. There's some abominations that we need to understand. Okay. And this is found in chapter number 14. What we just discussed was in chapter number 13. Okay. And it says here, you are the children of Elohim. You're the children of Yahweh. Okay. We read this and just say, oh yeah, we're his children. So obviously, this could be just, we're his children. Yeah, we're the children of God. Sister Sharon, can you please read chapter number 14, verse number 2, the following verse, or just read verse 1 and I'll tell you when to stop.
Okay. All right, I'm starting with 14, verse 1. Ye are the children of the Lord your God. You shall not cut yourselves, nor make any baldness between your eyes for the dead. For thou art a holy people unto the Lord thy God. And the Lord has chosen thee to be a peculiar people unto himself, above all the nations that are upon the earth. Thou shalt not eat any abominable thing. These are the beasts which ye shall eat, the ox, the sheep, and the goat, the hart and the roebuck, and the fallow deer, and the wild goat, and the pygarg, and the wild ox, and the chamois, and every beast that parteth the hoof, and cleaveth the cleft into two claws, and cheweth the cud among the beasts, that ye shall eat.
Hallelujah.
Never-
Let's start right there. So the first thing that he introduces us to is the fact that we're the children of Yahweh, our Elohim. The second thing that he tells us is that we should never make any marks on our bodies, or especially between our eyes, for the dead. Okay. Then he tells you that you are a set apart people, right? That language that he's using right there, out of nowhere, he mentions the marks of the dead. And he's telling you, you're the children of Yahweh Elohim. Literally, what he's telling you and I is that we're the children of the one who exists. The reason why you and I are never to make any marks on our body for the dead of anybody that we know that passed away is because they don't die if they're Israel. That's an abomination. They do not die. Their bodies might go to sleep, but they're eternal. You understand? We're not like the other nations. This is what he's trying to get us to see. Because you're not like them, you can't do the things that they're doing. Because you're not like them, you can't eat what they're eating. Because you're not like them, you can't think the way they think. Because you're not like them, you can't, desire the things that you desire. Because you're not like them. You understand? This is what he wants us to see. You're children of a living being of the creator of the heavens and the earth. You're an eternal people. You can't make any marks on your body for the dead. Okay. And so, knowing that we're set apart people, knowing this, Yah has to bring us through what they call a training cycle, right? Our training is cyclical. And what I'm saying about that is, in the language that he's using in this chapter, he tells you every year you must take 1/10, which is a tithe, of everything of your seed, produces in the field, and eat it in the presence of Yahweh your Elohim, in the place. You need to eat it in the place where he chooses to have his name live. There you will eat the 10th of your grain, your new wine, your olive oil. So if he's talking about you're going to eat that, you're going to eat that baraka. You're going to eat the baraka. You're going to eat the new wine. You're going to eat the olive oil. You're going to eat the baraka of the firstborn of your cattle and of the sheep, so that you will learn to fear Yahweh, your Elohim, always. So the instruction is given here is that what they must do, they have to take their tithes every year. Okay? And they need to take it, and they need whatever it's produced of the field, and they got to take it and eat it in the presence of Yahweh in order for them to learn. So they're doing it year by year, because he always wants them to know where to go. They need to go to the place that he chooses to have his name live. Okay? This is a very sensitive subject for everyone. Okay? Because there's individuals out here that would put Yahweh's name on their building or on a piece of furniture and say and declare to everybody that Yahweh lives here. They would actually have the audacity to say his name is here. His name lives here in this building. His name is in this congregation. His name is on this building. His name is in this land. His name, as if the Most High Yahweh himself has chosen that in particular place to put his name in some filthy community. You understand? So there's a lack of respect for the Most High. And the reason why they're doing this, everyone, is because they have not learned how to fear Yahweh. If you're going through the Torah cycles, this is the training. You're receiving training right now. You and I are going through a cyclical training cycle. Every year, you and I are going through the Torah portion. Every year. Every week, week by week by week by week by week. And what he's trying to get you and I to understand is that you're not in the place that he chose. Not to worship him. You're not in the place of Yahweh's presence to bring Yahweh anything. Oh, you're tearing us down. You're not lifting us up. No, I'm telling all of us the truth. We need to stop being delusional so we can learn to fear Yahweh. Fearing Yahweh says we're only going to go to the place that he chose to have his name. That's the only place you and I are going. The only place where a tithe will ever be given is to where Yahweh chose. It's not going to be at your local church. It's not going to be to a pastor and his wife, the first lady. It's not going to be to some rabbi who calls himself a rabbi. It's not going to be to some congregation that's telling you that you owe them. It's going to be in the place that Yahweh chooses. Not what you and I choose. It's not how we see it. We cannot live lives that are contradictory to what he has said. Yes, Kel.
I guess just to argue the other side, that they would say that his name is there in the church.
Prove it. Guess how I can prove what I'm saying? He calls it the place, which is a definite article called a hey, right on front of it, hamakom. This right here gives you very specific location. And he says out of the tribes that he chose, he's going to choose the place where he chose to put his name in the tribe that he chose. So you ask them, prove your tribe. Prove that he said that this is the place. Show them where he said, I'm going to choose out of the tribe. And you and I both know where he chose it. It's right there in the book of Kings, where he told Shlomo, I chose to put my name on this temple. And if you mess up, I'm going to remove my name from this place. It's the place that Yahweh has chosen. Still dealing with the abominations. Abomination, everyone, is something that's disgusting to the Most High. And their idolatry is disgusting to him. Listen, I'll say it. I want you to see today that there are things how he sees it. Yah says that idolatry is an abomination. Yah says that foods are an abomination. Yah says that people are an abomination. Some people are an abomination. Not all foods, not all people, but all idolatry. Temples, churches, people's homes that they put in altars and, standing stones and memorials having names of other gods. These places were all over Israel. And the Most High said, or Canaan, he says, get rid of them. Get rid of all their memorials. Tear every last one of them down. Burn them. Cut them down. Smash them. Get rid of their names. But you should not do so unto Yahweh. I need you to cut down and burn down the carved images, the crosses. The cobblestone over there in wherever it is, you're not going to go worship that. Destroy that. All these items are devoted to destruction. All of them. Any crosses, any images, anything that's outside of what Yahweh has said. Yah says don't make an image of nothing. Male, female, nothing. Bird, animal, nothing. The foods that are mentioned and specified in Devarim 14, as you just read this weekend, Vayikra, which is Leviticus chapter number 11. He gives you a list of foods that are considered to be an abomination. He tells you all foods outside of Eretz, the land of Israel, is defiled. The land, Canaan, the promised land, not the land of Israel. The land of Canaan, the promised land, is not called the land of Israel. It's the land of Canaan. That's the land of the Most High promise. He didn't promise the land of Israel. Okay? And this is something that you and I need to see. Kiko, what do you mean that the food that we're eating defiled? I don't care how well it tastes. I don't care how good it is. I had a beautiful breakfast this morning. But being in exile, you and I, and being raised here, we have been accustomed and we have been acclimated to the environment. So whatever we're eating right now, we're thinking it's good. We're thinking that it's nutrition and there's nothing wrong with it. And there's no contaminations or nothing. The very grains that are being harvested and the fruits and the meats that are harvested in these lands are contaminated. For you. They might not be for everyone else. They're for you. Otherwise, if they weren't, then what would be the punishment? What would be the curse? If the grains that you had were not contaminated or defiled, then that would make Yahweh a liar. Yahweh said, when you go out to these nations, you eat their food, you're eating defiled bread. Because everything that's being produced in these lands is defiled. Why? Because there's innocent blood that's been shed in these lands. Why? Because men are marrying the same women that they've already been with, and they went to another man, and they're all sleeping with each other. That right there is the defilement of the land. Why? Because there's murderers who haven't been brought to trial that are still walking around in the land. They killed everybody, and they're still alive. That's perversion, and that is the land is defiled. This is not Yahweh's land. The earth is Yahweh's, in the fullness thereof and all that dwell therein. But inside of the earth, he chose a set-apart land for a set-apart people to keep him set apart. Our grains, our fruits, our meats, our waters, everything that we touch right now is defiled. Because Kiyam Kadosh Atah, You and I don't know that you and I are a set apart people. You and I are a segula to Yahweh. You are a set apart people from everyone else. Why are you bringing this up? Because the Most High is telling us you are in exile and you are in a filthy land with filthy people. And you're there because you decided, you and your ancestors, that you did not want to listen to what I said. Explain the people. It has there, if a person will not listen to the Torah, even his prayer is an abomination. That's a toeva. So it says if, but that's not what it says in Hebrew. It doesn't say if. If is im. It's not there. It says masir. It's talking about this letter right here means the turn, and this right here is the resh, which has to do with the head. And it's from the turning of the head. That's what masir means. And what do you mean turning from the head, Akika? I mean that you've been walking on the path, okay? And you're going to turn, okay? And this is your azanu right here. They're turning their ears. That's what it talks about. Will not listen. That's the ears. They're turning their ears from what? Mishmoah. From what? Here you see the Shema right here. That's the Shema right there. What you talking about, the Shema? Oh, you talking about the Shema that's in Sister Sharon? Can you please read Deuteronomy chapter number 6, verse number 4, just the first part of it, just very slowly so everybody can understand what he's saying here.
Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord, and thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might.
When he said, hear, Israel, that word right there is Shema. That means listen and obey. The whole purpose of listening to Yahweh and listening to the Torah is to obey the Torah. So, the person who's turning their ear, he is the azanu right here, their ears from Shema, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad, Wa'ahavta Yahweh Eloheka. They have turned away from that. They're not going to listen to the Torah. Yah is speaking, and they said, we're not going to listen. We're not going to use our ears. We don't want to hear what he's saying. We're not going to obey what he's saying. So it's deeper than just, oh, well, I just don't want to listen. No, a person who's turning their ears from obeying. Listening in Hebrew is obeying. Obey the Torah. And here in the Hebrew, I can see it right here, is mishmoah. That O sound right here is telling me it's a participle. It's going on and it's always supposed to be. It's always in the present. It's not, well, it was in the past, so I don't have to listen to it anymore. It's not in the future. Well, I'll listen to it when I have to, when I get to the land. It's talking about right now. So the azanu, the mishmoah, that are not listening, the ears are not perking up to what he's saying. The ears are not obeying. That's why if you look in your Torah, he talks about the ears, which you hear. When a person heard that a group of people in the city were worshiping and following another God, they're supposed to investigate it thoroughly, come to a consensus about it, find out the truth. If it was true, they would go in and unalive every single body and every single animal and everything in it that was devoted to destruction. Meaning, get rid of the idolatry. Their prayer, their tefillah is to'eva. That to'eva right there again is the abomination. Yes, Kel.
Yeah, I was just wondering if I'm understanding this right from this verse that you're talking about in Proverbs, when in Genesis they were talking about, the Christians say that God created us in their image, and they compare like the Trinity of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and they say that that's like the Trinity, and then they jump off into this verse where it says God is one, and they're saying that the Trinity is the combination of all of them becoming one. That's what they believe.
Yeah, that's a distortion of, because the Genesis never mentions the Trinity, never mentions it, right? Never mention all when it says let us. right? The Most High, again, as I said before, he's talking, look in context of who he's talking to. It's a conversation, right? He's talking to the one that he's been talking to from verse 24 all the way down to 27 is the same that he's been talking to, which is the Adamah, right? So they're confusing. They're making, those are called doctrines, and those are teachings that they're coming up with to justify the existence of a Trinity and whatnot, right? There's no Trinity ever mentioned in the Torah whatsoever. So they could sit and chop up and try to take Yah's words and make them whatever they want to, but the fact of the matter is the language speaks differently, and that's the only way that you can really combat them effectively is when you have an understanding of the language. The question is that the spirit of wisdom he's talking to here? Is that the spirit of wisdom he is talking to here? No. Shalomo is talking. Okay. When we talk about wisdom, Kokma, she's mentioned in the first 8 chapters of Proverbs, more specifically. Then it begins to talk about making comparisons, because Mishle means making comparisons. So we read this in verse number 9. If you continue to read, he talks about the difference between a person who will listen and a person who will not obey and listen to the Torah. There's some contrast. There's some contrast made there, and that's what Mishle is. Mishle Proverbs is about making comparisons. So this is just one part of the comparison. I don't have enough room on here, but you can go read it for yourself. He's making a comparison. But the idea is not if. It's never going to be an if here. That's why I have it bold, because it's not an if. It says when in Masir. And they don't even tell you, you don't even see the word turn in here. But it's right here. And if you don't know the language and you don't know what's going on, you'd be like, well, if a person won't listen, well, they don't listen in their prayer abomination. Easy business. No, he's talking about the filet mignon. I'm not giving hamburger meat here. I'm giving the filet mignon of the text. The filet mignon is the truth, the authentic, masir. If you're turning your ear from listening, obeying the Torah, also the tefillah, which is your prayer, okay, and your praise, because that's what prayer is an abomination. So the person that is refusing to listen to what Yahweh says, you're an abomination to me. Why? Because the prayer is coming out of your mouth. So we got abominations that come into the mouth through the foods, and we got the abominations that can come out of the mouth, which is from the people. And all of it has to do with idolatry. So if idolatry is an abomination to the Most High, and the altars, the standing stones, the carving images, and all this devoted to destruction, and he's telling us the foods that you eat are associated with idolatry. How do you make sense of that, Akika? Because if you look at each of those animals that he tells you not to eat, he gives a whole list of them. And I've been over this before. Their characteristics are cruelty. Their very characteristics is cruelty. So at the end of chapter number 14, which we're discussing the foods, he tells us, don't you boil a kid in his mother's milk. Out of nowhere. He tells you don't take a kid, a goat, and boil in its mother's milk. Why? Because it's cruel. But he tells you about all the cruel animals, like the seagull and the hawk, and they're all predators. They're cruel. The ostrich, they're all cruel. The stork, they're all cruel. They're vicious. You understand? So the foods are connected to idolatry. That's why eating is mentioned over 41 times. That's why he says, when you do eat, you need to come and celebrate before me. And don't bring something to me that's not right. But I want you to come. I want your son to come. I want your daughter to come. I want your wife to come. I want your servants to come. I want all of those to come. Okay? I don't want you to do what the nations have done. In their idolatrous practices, idolatry, the nations that I'm telling you go down and tear everything up that they have, is simply because some of the things that they've done, not some of them, the things that they're doing, Yah hates. So he hates this about them. And what he also hates about them, he hates the foods. So it tells you that they were eating these animals They would eat the seagull. They would eat the hawk. They would eat the bird. They would eat things that died of itself. They would eat things that they were killed by another animal. He's saying, not for you. You can't do this. The idolatrous practice here is also included, instead of bringing your sons and daughters to celebrate with Yahweh, that he tells you, the idolatry tells you to kill your children. Go ahead and burn them up and sacrifice them. Instead of celebration, you're talking about sacrifice of your children, which the Most High does not condone. So you can see just based on that alone, that if Yah is against this disgusting and abhorrent practices of the idolatrous nature of these people, they're burning their children. Yah didn't ask us to burn our children. He asked to bring your children, celebrate your children, teach your children, bring your whole family, come together. I need you to see the purpose. See the purpose. The purpose is this, everyone. Yahweh is giving these commands to tell the children of Israel that he wanted them to remember that they were a slave, that they existed as slaves in the land of Egypt. That's the whole purpose. For them to remember. If you notice, he said, if the people try to take you away from me, they're taking you away from the person who brought you out of the land of Mizraim. If I'm talking about the Shemitah in chapter number 15 about releasing people, I'm telling you to do this because I released you. Yahweh redeemed us. This is why he said, I'm giving you this order today. So you have to understand the purpose of seeing. To see it, to remember it. Zakar, remember that you were a slave. You existed, that you existed as a slave. So if you have a slave that wants to live with you after their 6 years of service, they have to want to love you. They have to look to your love. They have to have what he wants us to have in their hearts. You understand? They have to be able to and willing to eat what I eat. And they love the way that things are going on in my house. Which brings us to the idea of the yadim, of the hands. Because that's where the power is. The power is in the hands of release. The Most High gives a lot of attention to the hands in this Torah portion. Okay? I don't have it all listed here, but I have some ideas. The hands were actually given the command to destroy all the altars and images of the Ashtaroth, of all the places where these people's names were, all these other gods. The hands were given in order to carry the blessings of Yahweh, the tithes and the offerings, to the place that Yahweh chose to make your sacrifices and your offerings and your free will offerings and your burnt offerings. The hands were supposed to be used to kill the false prophet and the false dreamer. Okay? When I call them false, it said that everything that they did came to pass. So what makes them false, Akika? What makes them false is because they're trying to push you away to Yahweh. They're not a prophet of Yah. They're just a prophet that did a sign and did a wonder that is trying to draw you and push you and force you off of the path that Yahweh has already designed for you when he brought you out of the land of Egypt. Remember the land of Egypt. Okay? So the hands are used for that. You're supposed to be the first hand to put that person to death, and then the hands of the people are to put that person to death. Why? Because they try to get you to commit an abomination by worshiping other Elohims. What about else is for the hands? The hands are to be able to take hold of what? You are supposed to take hold of the abominations that you have and destroy them. If you do not destroy those things that are considered abomination, you will participate and take part in its utter destruction. So if it's been designated for destruction and you hold it and it's in your possession, in your palm of your hand, and you possess it and you hold it, you're going to get what it is going to get. There is no, well, I didn't know, so because I don't know doesn't mean that that's not going to happen. No, if there's something, and there's plenty of examples, I don't have a slide, but I can show you an example, plenty of them, where someone took something that was devoted to destruction, they brought it, they dug a hole in the ground, they safeguarded it, and they kept it, and as a result of that, him and his whole entire family got put to death.
I got one question. Forgive me for interrupting, but when you get a chance, could you explain when a person said something like, in secret, that, trying to lead his people away from what they're supposed to be doing without a witness, how how do you do it? And I know you can't explain it now, but that's just my thought.
Yeah, that's a good question, Dawid, and thank you for the question. I've taught on this before. They say that you can't really bring nobody to judgment without two or three witnesses, right? Is that that's what it said, right? In that context, he's not talking about someone who's doing something secretly. He's not talking about, so what he's talking about is everything that's been done on the down low. Like you're not expressing it publicly. You're trying to do it in secret. You're trying to convince someone. So here's an example. The wife is with the husband, and she's saying, "Hey, let's go. Let's go over here. Let's go to this celebration." It's not let's go worship this God. She's not saying that. She's saying let's go to this. Let's go to this celebration. Just as simple as that is. Hey, let's go. Let's go over here to this place. I heard they had a party going over there, right? And he's like listening, and he's like, okay, well, let's go. But he never inquires and never try to find out. See, it's really like a very covert type of operation. There are some people who are bold enough to say, oh, come on, it's not going to hurt. Let's go. Come on, let's just come to church with me. I know that you believe what you believe, but it's not going to hurt. Let's just go. It's someone who's really trying to move you away from what Yahweh has said, the path that you're on. So it's going to be in a way, it's not going to be, publicly known. They're not going to do this in front of a group of people that you're already around. They're not going to say when you're around other people, they're going to talk about this when there's no one around. It's like very intimate, right? So every time he talks about, your wife, or it could be your brother, person that you grew up with that you really, really love and you trust. So Yah's going to use people that you trust. He's going to use them to test you, to find out whether or not you really love him, So keeping it in context, he's talking about when they get into this land, there's going to be individuals that are in your family and they're going to be real close to you. Yah is going to use them to find out how you really feel about him by what they're asking of you, and that could be a range of different things. Like I said, it don't have to be, let's go to this party. It could be, hey, let's eat this. Let's just try it. It's going off the path that Yahweh said. It could easily be to say, look, we don't need to go up to Jerusalem 3 times a year. I know they said that. That's idolatrous, trying to get you to get away from what Yahweh said. Anyone is trying to get you to do idolatrous practices that, they're not so evident, right? Like you see, right? Well, they're going to come out and tell you. It's like really on a down low. You know what I mean? So those are only examples I really can think about, but it's just really covert. It's like really sneaky. You know what I mean? So it could be a range of different things. So anything here's the final answer. Anything that could be directed towards you that causes you to try to push you away from Yahweh. That's how it is. And he's really being extreme, saying like, if they try to get you to go against him, to go against his way. When he talks about going against Yahweh, they're not going to come out and say, go against Yahweh. They're not going to say that. Someone may not be bold enough to say that, but it's in their actions of trying to draw you away from Yah by doing the things that he didn't say to do. More specifically, it has to do with idolatry. Could be like, well, hey, let's go up here. Let's go visit this memorial, or let's go do, what I'm saying? So anything that shows you that it's idolatrous in nature, that's what you got to be careful. That's the reason why I mentioned it could be the food. It could be a celebration. It could be don't do the Shabbat. He says any way that you try, the prophet or the dreamer, they came up with a miracle. Right? So the New Testament says that he did all these miracles, and surely he truly must be the Son of God because he did these miracles. So it could come that way. You understand? So it's the person, and they can show you something. So it's the person who can show you something. That's the test. It could be the person who do the miracle. It could be the person that the dream came to pass. It could be the person that you love. It could be your wife. It could be your son. Yah has a whole bunch of different people that he can use to test you. And he's letting you know the people that I'm using, they can either be a prophet or a dreamer, right? That the people see out openly. It also can be done in secret. It can also be done, right? That you can hear about it through another city. I mean, you weren't there, but you investigated it. But when it comes to your own family, you don't have to investigate. So you see three different ways. And in each of those different examples, the prophet and the dreamer dies, the wife, the son, the brother, the daughter, or whoever it is, your best friend, they're going to die. And the people, the inhabitants of that city are going to die. And that's what it is. So what is he telling us? He's telling us that anybody that tries to turn you against me and turn you against my ways, they need to be put to death. And you are the one who's going to be held responsible for putting them to death. You cannot hide them. And you cannot ignore what the prophet just did. He tried to get you to go against me, even if he had a great sign that came to pass. And it said it doesn't matter if it's here or anywhere across the world. If you read the scripture, it'll tell you it could be anywhere. It could be anywhere on the face of the earth, from one end of the heavens to the other. Anywhere. Going
I
back,
understand.
hallelujah. Going back to this idea of the yadim and the hands. The hands are used to release, right? So you can release your servant who served you for 6 years, and he said that they're worth double the amount. While they're serving you, by the way, they're doing that because they sold themselves to you. They're not working for free. They're actually being paid wages. That's the reason why they're in service. Because if you don't pay them, they'll never get out of the situation that they're in. And the idea too that I have here about a necklace, you say, well, I never saw a necklace in the Torah yet. The Torah, it's in there, Carl. It's called an anek. And anek is a necklace. What he's talking about is that what I want you to do is choke them out with what? With a blessing. Like put a necklace on them to adorn them and to shorn them with nothing but grain out of your flocks, out of your wine press, and all the blessings that the Most High gave you. And this is for your Ivri and your Ivriyah, which is your Hebrew and your Hebrewism. Okay, so Ivri is the Hebrew and Ivriyah is the Hebrewism, right? And he's more specifically talking about them strangers. Okay, the strangers, he said, you don't have to let them go. You can hold on to a stranger. And why would he allow you to hold on to strangers? You can't hold your brother or sister, because your brother and sister, your Ivri and your Ivriyah actually, their ancestors have been slaves. And so the Most High came and redeemed them. And he's saying, okay, as a result of that, because they're his people, you got to release my people after a certain time of their bondage or their service. They have to be released. And you're going to release them every 7th year, you're going to release them. Strangers, you don't have to do that. Okay. You have the power to either, open your hand or shut your hand to give to your brother or your sister or into a stranger. You have the power to shut that. Okay. And what is the power of this? Because it's really demonstrating the power of Yahweh in Yahweh's hand. So when we do what Yahweh says, we have to mirror what Yahweh has done. This is why the slave or the Ivri and the Ivri says that I love you. I love your house. Yes, Kel.
I wanted to ask you, do you think that the wealth in Israel, when we operate as that unit, is the wealth distributed evenly throughout the nation, or do you think some parts of the nations are a lot more wealthier than other parts?
Some parts are more wealthier, and that's a great question. The Most High talks about it's like an enclosed system, right? So there are going to be some individuals who are going to make some bad business decisions, and as a result of that, some people are going to have to be going into servitude, and we call it slavery. Service and slavery are synonymous in Hebrew. They're talking about aved, right? So you're going into service. You may have to do that with you, your wife, and your children. You might have to do it by yourself. It just depends on the circumstances. But the Most High then says that if you do this, you kind of eliminate the poor and the needy around you. But they're always going to be the widow. That's always going to be. There's always going to be the fatherless. There's always going to be the stranger. And there's always going to be the lavaim. So based upon that, and based on what's going on with every family, it depends on how they manage it. If they're managing their families well, they won't be poor. So no, it's not going to be, this is not what you would call it's not a communist country, right? So it is literally, it's about wealth and who possesses it. So it really depends on what it is. And by the way, I'll answer your question in a second, Michelle. Thank you for it. What the Most High is saying is, if we do what we need to do, right? If you follow what I say and you follow my commands, okay, talking about the individuals and their families, I'm going to bless your hands. And then when I bless your hands, I want you to give to the Ivri and the Ivriya. And I also wanted you to give to the stranger and the foreigners, right? I want you to give to the Levi. I want you to do it. But it's all contingent upon you following my commands. So if you follow my commandments, there won't be any need, for the poor they to be met. Okay. And so that's what it is. Yeah, Michelle.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to make a quick statement on Kel's question.
Yeah.
Even if it's from a point of view as going back into the line, if the question is, will we have the wealth distributed evenly? That would be a no, because even when they went into the promised land, that was not distributed evenly. It was based according to the size and the actions that merited them to deserve the portion that they got.
Praise Yah.
So
Yeah.
even when we go back, it's not gonna all be evenly distributed.
Wow, that's a great point that Mashal made, everyone, because what he's speaking about is when they were in the wilderness, some tribes, we talked about this earlier, some tribes, they were bigger in their size. And what happened is the southern tribes of Reuben and Shimon and Gad, they actually, their numbers declined. And while they were in the wilderness, a lot of their people died. When I did the numbers, a lot of the people in their tribes died. And because the people died, their numbers went down. And when their numbers went down, they got less of an inheritance because there was really no need to give them a greater inheritance when they have less people. So we know that we're doing well we know that we're blessed. I want to use that. We know that we're blessed when the numbers are increasing. We know we're blessed when our inheritance is increasing. We know that we're blessed when our families are growing, exponentially. We know that exponentially. So we know that the Most High is blessing us when you bless your hands, when you have a lot of crops. When he says sometimes if you had a crop that was too big for you to carry, you just have so much. He said, then you're supposed to sell that and take the money and then come to the place that I told you. And then there you buy whatever you want, whatever your soul, whatever she's asking of you, whatever it says that in Hebrew, whatever she asks you, your soul is asking for whatever it is. He said, give it to her. Give her your soul what she's asking, whatever she desires, and she's asking shoelika, whatever she's asking of you, you give it to her. So it's all based upon what the work of your hands have been, right? So you can see how the hands are to release, the hands are to open, the hands are to do a lot of those things. Yes, Kel.
So I guess I'm just trying to think about what that world would look like. Like, does it look like us still, like, as Israel being the new heaven and new earth, making that new transition? Are we still making cars? Are we still making brands like we see now? Like there's Target, Walmart, things that are like big like that. Would we be the ones to kind of facilitate like all those things to kind of move around like that business market in the world that's going to be coming?
No, that's a good question. More specifically in Isaiah, it gives us a detailed understanding as well as other areas where talks us about what we're going to be doing. We're actually going to be farmers. We're actually going to be farmers, right? And so the whole world, as we know, is going to change. And what we're going to be is we're going to be the people who are going to be we're going to be the dispensers of the Torah. So people are going to come to the land to learn Torah from us. We're like, how the Levi'im are to us. That's what we're going to be to the nations. That's what it's going to be. So just in the capacity that they operate, like they're going from city to city and Yah's their inheritance. He's going to tell us at that point that, yeah, you're going to have land or whatnot, but you're not going to be a manufacturer of things to give out to others. The only thing that you're going to be speaking and talking and proclaiming is Yahweh's word to the people. You're going to teach people the Torah. That's what it's going to be. You're going to teach them how to live. We're probably going to teach them how to farm. We're going to teach them how to do the things that the Most High wants us to do, because initially the whole reason and the purpose for humanity is to use their hands and their knees. Okay, hands are used for praise, but hands are also used to have the power to give and the power to hold and the power to go to war, the power to destroy. So, when he talks about what your hands are going to do, it's everything that Yah blesses our hands. See, for us as a nation, he's really talking about what I want to do with your hands. He talks about blessing our hands, the work of our hands. And when he talks about the work of our hands, it has to do with our inheritance, which is our land. That's the only thing that he mentions to us. That's the only blessing, everything that's in the land, like he mentions like a couple of weeks ago in Deuteronomy chapter number 8, he talks about these seven blessings of the fruit. These are the fruits of pomegranates, the figs, the dates, and the oil, and all those things, the grain and the barley and the water, and those are the things. So for us, we're not going to be involved in you know, in the other nations and how they do business. That's not going to be. That's going to be destroyed.
So Akika, what happens to like just like I guess the foundation of what the world looks like now, like the internet, where AI is coming into things like is all of that stuff just gonna be
Destroyed.
destroyed?
Yeah, it's destroyed. Yeah, he's starting over. Everything's about to start over because it's idolatry. It's taking away the power from Yah, right? And what his plan is. Okay, the actual purpose and the plan for Yah. Okay. Also, too, in chapter number 16, Yah wants us to see something. He wants us to see the place. And this is huge. Okay. 3 times a year, all the men are to appear in the presence of Yahweh, your Elohim, in the place where he will choose. This is a theme. At the festival of Matzah, at the festival of Sukkot, and the festival of Shavuot, and the festival of Sukkot. Those are the 3 times. They are not to show up before Yahweh empty-handed, but every man is to give what he can in accordance with the blessing Yahweh, your Elohim, has given you, meaning in accordance to what he's put in your hands, according to the work where you sent your hand. If you did what was right, your blessing will be increased. Your land, your production, your produce from the land, your wine will be increased. Your grains will be everything will grow, and that's because the Most High is giving us everything we need in order to be able to support the poor, the widow, the stranger, and the fatherless, and the Leviim. Okay. So these are the 3 times, and all of these 3 times, as a matter of fact, I just want to bring out the point that all of these times that are mentioned are all feminine. Okay. The Feast of Matzah is feminine. Shavuot is feminine. Sukkot is feminine. These are all feminine. And what I mean by feminine nature, they're the ones who are giving. So when he talks about you coming, he says you cannot come empty-handed. So what we're understanding about our Elohim is that the reason why he's bringing this place is to remind us that what he's done for us. Matzah talks about how we came out of Mitzrayim. Shavuot is talking about the land that I gave you that, you're supposed to bring something to me, right? And then Sukkot is where you do the ingathering of the final harvest. That's why you're never supposed to come empty-handed to anywhere that I told you, ever. So if you're empty-handed, it means something. Okay, it's called Rekam. So if you came Rekam, that means you come with void. There's nothing in your hand. Okay, so going against the Most High is saying, I'm not going to the festival. I'm not going into the presence of Yah. So where's the presence of Yah at? According to what we just read, where is it?
The place where he chose?
That's it. So did the Most High choose California? No. Did he choose Texas? No. He chose a place. And so what is he saying to us? He's telling us, if you fear me, you're going to come to the place that I told you, right? He's mentioning this to us because he knows that we should know where the place is. So Yah's putting safeguards in place. He's saying, look, I chose a place. So you don't get to choose. I chose. You don't get to choose where you're going to do matzah. You don't get to choose where you're going to do Shavuot. You do not get to choose where you're going to do Sukkot. I chose the place. So how does this translate to where we are today? And what can we do? Considering that we do observe the Matzah, the Shavuot, or the Sukkot, or Yom Teruah, or Yom Kippur, the festivals, right? Or the times of these set apart times. Some of them are not festivals. Some are memorials, So the idea behind this is to understand that, okay, this is the place. Okay, well, that's the place. Well, are you at that place? No. Are you in my presence? No. So are you keeping matzah properly? No. Why? Because there's offerings supposed to be brought on matzah. Are you keeping Savaoth correctly? No. Do you know what it is? Yes, I do know what it is. Okay, what does matzah represent? Matzah means that you're going to eat the bread, unleavened bread. Well, why are you eating that? Because I delivered you out of a place of affliction. So you're not eating kamats, which is a cruelty. You're moving all the stuff in your house to remind you, okay, that what I did for you. So remembering what Yah said versus doing what Yah said are 2 different things. Okay. Feast of Sukkot, what is that about? You lived in tents while you were in the wilderness for 40 years. I want you to remember that. I want you to remember that I'm the one who brought you to the land to inherit the place that I told you. But all of these festivals require offerings, and they require them to be officiated by the people who are authorized. Okay. But it doesn't mean that you and I cannot remember them. He says that you're not to show up empty handed, but every man is to give what he can in accordance with the blessing Yahweh your Elohim has given you. Question: has Most High put a blessing in our hands according to what we learned today? Huh?
Nope.
No.
No.
I want to hear it. No. Why? Are you trying to discourage us from keeping these? No, I'm not trying to discourage us. I'm trying to bring clarity. If he says you're not to show up before Yahweh empty-handed, then he means that you're not supposed to show up. If you you got to go to the place that I told you. And when you get there, you got to be something in your hand. So the question is, do we have anything to put in our hand to go to the place that he said? And what's the answer?
No.
No. So when you said no, that means that you fear Yahweh. And the reason why you fear him is because you understand that. The person who says that, no, I'm going to celebrate this the way that I want to do it. I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. It's right in my own eyes. I'm going to show you what happens to that person. Okay. Matter of fact, look at the date, Sukkot this year, just for observation purposes, right? You're just going to, look at it and memorialize it. There's nothing wrong with memorializing while you're in exile. You can think about it. You can actually cry about it because the Most High is telling you, well, look what you missed out on. You and your children were supposed to come in my presence and celebrate with a blessing that I had put in your hand. But guess what? You're on punishment. So you don't have a blessing that I've given to you. I haven't given you anything. So Yah's putting us in check again to tell us that you don't have nothing in your hand. And don't try to attempt to put anything in your hand. Because if you did try to give me something from your hand, whether it be a tithe or whether it be a gift or whatever it is, I'm not accepting it. Why? Because it has a moon, because it has been contaminated, because the people where you live are not the people. There's a connection between your Haftarah and what we've been reading about that emptiness and about that don't come with nothing in your hand. It says, for just as the rain and snow fall from the sky and do not return there, right? So I mean, there's no emptiness, but water the earth and causing it to bud and produce, giving seed to the sower and bread to the eater, so is my word that goes out from my mouth. It will not return to me unfulfilled. That word right there, unfulfilled, is the same word that the Most High uses about coming to him, called ra or rekam, meaning being empty. So he's telling us that his word will never be empty, but it will accomplish what I intend and cause to succeed what I sent it to do. So he sends out his word in order for it to produce. Okay. So he's letting us know that, guess what? Yah has given a word to send us into exile. Did we go into exile? Has he spoken a word and said, if you don't do what I said, then you're going in exile? Yes?
Yes,
Yeah.
he did.
So he's keeping his word, isn't he? He's fulfilling his word. He's fulfilling his word so tough, he says, just like if I said that something's going to happen, I gave a word, my word is just like this water falling down in the earth. Once it falls to the earth, if my word hits the ground, it starts to bud and produce. So the very word that he's used to put us in exile and promise us that you don't listen to my voices is going to happen is the very word that he can give a command and can change everything. It will not return to me unfulfilled. So it's about his word. He's talking about unfulfilled, meaning it won't be calm. It won't be empty. So when the Most High tells us, like, well, when you come to me 3 times a year, I know that you should have something. Why? Because I sent my word. And my word caused it to rain. And I watered the earth and I caused it to bud and produce. And so because it done what it's supposed to do, when you bring something in your hand to me the 3 times a year, it means that my word is being fulfilled. because that's what I promised you and your ancestors. I promised to give you a land that's going to be flourished, or it's going to be full, and it's going to be bountiful. It's going to be a blessing. It's going to do what I sent it to do. So it goes both ways. Okay. So in chapter number 55 of Isaiah, because this is where you can find it, the Most High is making an invitation, which you would call a request. And he's also telling us how to repent. And he's also telling us what the result of that repentance is going to be. Okay. The request is this. Now that I know that you don't have any food, because you don't, I want you to come to me and it won't cost you anything. Where is the cost? What's the connection? Well, if you had a whole bunch of food and you couldn't come to the place that I told you, then I would ask you to sell it. And then you would have to buy whatever you want when you got there, when you came to where I want you to come. But now that you don't have any food and you don't have any blessing, I'm going to invite you and it's going to cost you nothing. That's an invitation. Sister Sharon, are you
Yeah.
there?
I'm here.
All right. Can you go to Isaiah chapter number 55, please?
Yes.
And can you read verse number 1 for us?
Ho, everyone that thirsteth, come ye to the waters, and he that has no money, come ye buy and eat. Yea, come buy wine and milk without money and without price.
Okay, so now he's telling us because he knows that we don't have any money, right? And he knows that because we're broke, and he knows they don't have any food, right? And what he's talking about is he's talking about coming to hear him and to get something that you don't have, right? I'm going to give you something that you don't have the money for. Because he knows that I haven't blessed you. I haven't blessed you. Like, all the liars that told you that he blessed us, he has not blessed us. So he's asking us, no money. Come to me, it's free. There are benefits. The benefits of us coming to him means that, listen, everything that your soul desires, I'm going to have there for you when you get there. Okay. And where's he asking us to come? Where's he telling us to go? I've been saying it all day. Go to what? Come to the what? To the place that I what? That I chose. Okay. This is going to be found in the place that I chose. The benefits are found in the place that I chose. And he's going to make an everlasting covenant with us. That's the invitation. Do you understand? He also says, as a side note, that when you get there, I'm going to give you a witness and I'm going to give you a commander. And that individual is going to come and he's going to be a leader of the people. And he said, I'm going to promise you the mercies and the compassion that I said I was going to give to my servant David. I'm going to give that to you. I'm going to give you someone who's going to be a witness to you and a commander about what? About what I said. I also want you to understand that, guess what? Repentance is part of the package. Okay, so then he begins to tell us, Sister Sharon, can you read chapter number 55, verse number 6, 7, and 8, please?
Okay. Seek ye the Lord while he may be found. Call ye upon him while he is near. Let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts. And let him return unto the Lord, and he will have mercy upon him, and to our God, for he will abundantly pardon. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord.
Hallelujah. So when he talks about this Dirashu here, what he's saying is, often the children of Israel were seeking. He said in our Torah portion that they're going to try to find a way to seek and find out how the other peoples around them, how they serve their gods. He's telling us to forsake that, right? And to seek him. And you only have a certain amount of time. There's a time element that's connected to it. It says why he can be found. So Yahweh can only be found at a certain time. And the time that he's talking about is the time that's now. That's the time. Because there's coming a time where you are not going to be able to seek Yah. So you know how they talk about the offer is only good for so long? The offer is only good for so long. So some people are not going to seek him in time. They're going to try to do it the last minute. It's not going to work. And the proclamation of Yah is what we need to do right now. That's part of your repentance. Okay? Along with forsaking, and it says forsake his way, that means the way of dysfunction. So if we truly repent and we truly turn back to the Most High, We're going to forsake dysfunction. This is Ra. When he talks about evil, he's talking about dysfunction. That's what evil is. It's not functioning correctly. It's the opposite of what good is, which is Tov. So Tov is functional. Ra, evil, is dysfunction. So when we talk about dysfunction, he's talking about even how you live and how you eat and everything, right? So we have to forsake the dysfunction that we've learned from the nations and their idolatrous practices, making sure that we change course. That's what you and I have to do. We have to abandon our way, and we have to understand that his ways are not our ways, and his thoughts are not our thoughts. And they're high, just like up in the heavens. And so, again, what stuck out to me is that if I truly am going to seek Yahweh, then I'm going to have to desire to look for his ways. And his ways are not going to be found on television, and they're not going to be found on the internet. And his ways are not going to be found in talking on talk shows. His ways are not going to be found in songs. His ways are not going to be found at festivals. His ways that, jazz concerts, his ways are not going to be found that way. Yah's not going to be found at any of these places or any of these things. Yah is only going to be found inside of his word, because it's his word that goes out. So if you're going to seek Yahweh, you need to seek what he says and understand what he's talking about, okay? And then, of course, you need to change your course, change course of mind and thought. The end result of all this, everyone, is that you and I are going to come to a place of rejoicing like they did in the Torah portion. He says, after you come to this place, the place that I choose, I'm going to have you rejoice. But on your way, in this in particular chapter, he talks about how the heavens and the earth and all the inhabitants of the earth are going to rejoice because you're coming home, because you made it to that place. So the place is only for those who have sought Yah. The place is only for those who proclaim Yahweh. Proclaim meaning to call out to Yahweh and proclaim what his name is, proclaim what his laws are. If he tells you that you're in exile and you're in trouble, then accept that. And stop trying to change what he said. I want you and I to see the gift. The gift is this. You're a kima kadoshata to Yahweh Eloheka. Okay? And uvaka de bekar Yahweh to liyotelo la amasugula de mikola ha'amim asher de alpanai da araman. Basically, he's saying kiyam kadoshata, because you are a set apart people as kadosh. That's the gift. You're the gift. Yah has chosen to give you the gift. You know, when we start off in our teaching about the gift, about bending down and presenting someone with something, has not Yahweh chosen you? And guess what? Yah's going to give you as a gift to the world. You and I are a gift that he's going to give. Yes, we're the blessing, right? Right? Because Yahweh Elohim has chosen us to be his own special, unique treasure. And he's using us as his own unique treasure, protecting us and showing us and saying, you mean so much to me. But I want the world to see it. Out of all the peoples on the face of the earth, you're the gift. You're special to Yahweh. That's the gift. And you have to be able to see that you're a Kiyam Kadoshata. That's what you are. Okay. In conclusion, I want to tell you that there are consequences. There's a positive consequence and a negative consequence. I need to pick it up a little bit. I'm behind. Here's what Yahweh says. As when juice is found in a cluster of grapes and people say, don't destroy it, there is still some baraka in it. There's still a blessing. They say good in English translation, but it means baraka in Hebrew. There's a blessing in it. Don't destroy it because there's a blessing in it. So I will do likewise for the sake of my servants and not destroy them all. I will bring forth descendants from Yaakov, heirs of my mountain from Yehuda. My chosen ones will possess them, and my servants will live there. And where? In the place that I choose. Sharon, meaning Yashar, because that's what Sharon means. Sharon, her root comes from Yashar. Will be a pasture for the flocks, and the Achor Valley a place for the cattle to rest. For my people who have sought me. This is only for the people who sought Yahweh. It's going to come to rest. Okay, so rest is only for those who seek. Righteousness is and right things. When he said, don't do what's Yashar in your own eyes, he's saying now, I'm going to bring you out to a place for the upright. And I'm going to give the upright rest, which is for my people who sought me. Okay. Now, who's the Baraka? You are the grape. You're the cluster of grapes. And he says, don't destroy it. So it tells us that at this in particular time of the harvest season, of the grape harvest, is when the Most High is going to choose to either destroy us or to keep us. And so here he's given us a clue that if I find any bit of a little bit of juice found in you, and the juice comes from the water that is being migrated from the ground up through the vine, but it has to come up from the heavens. When the water that falls down to the earth and is migrated up through the vine is telling us the water that came down is the Torah. The Torah is the water. Because if you follow the Torah, the water will fall, and the Torah is the teaching, and the water is going in a direction it needs to go. So the Torah is what waters the ground in order to bring the juice. So if I find inside of the cluster of grapes, which are my people, which are my servants, if I find any juice in them, if I find anything, any good, the baraka in it, who? The grape. And the grape is my servants. So there's a blessing that's in my people. Oh, and what is that blessing that Yahweh has given? Oh, it's the Torah. If I find any Torah inside this grape, that blessing. So what Yah has deposited inside of us is the blessing. Oh, go ahead, Sister Sharon.
Yeah, I just realized something when you said the Torah is the water, because in Isaiah 55 it says, everyone that thirsts come to the waters.
Yes. That comes from the Torah, from the heavens.
Yeah.
So he's telling us that if you are the grape that I'm deciding on whether or not to destroy, I'm looking for something. I'm looking for the juice. The juice comes from the Torah. So if the Torah is the juice and you're the grape, then I put a blessing in you. I'm only accepting that which has a blessing in it, that I gave a blessing to. Those are my servants, the ones who have a blessing in them, and the blessing is the Torah. Remember Moshe blessed the children of Israel and say, here's the Torah? This is the Torah. And the Torah is what's going to bring us to the point where we'll be accepted to go to the Yashar, Sharon, to the place where we'll pasture and we find our rest. You understand? So he's using this language here to tell us. So literally, you and I we have a blessing in us. When Yah says, I'll give the blessing of the land in your hands. Now, instead of Yah giving the blessing in the land that you and I don't have, listen to me carefully. Akika shot everybody down and put everybody down and said, we don't have our land, we don't have nothing, we're broke. Yeah, that's true. But look what else the Yah is, I'm telling you, the Yah says that he's given to us. Yah has put the baraka in you. And it needs to be found in you. If it's found, if it's appreciated, if it's accepted, if the juice is found, then you have a baraka in you, and that juice is the Torah. Then you will be identified as Yahweh's servants. Because Yahweh is only looking for the blessing. He's looking for where did the Torah brings blessing to the earth. The Torah, the water and the rain brings blessing to the land. If the land doesn't receive any water, then it doesn't have any produce. Animals don't get to eat. We don't get any grain. Hopefully you can see this. Opposite of this, the negative consequence, that's a result of the Torah. Here's the negative consequence, the result. Because consequences could be positive or they could be negative. He says, but as for you who abandon Yahweh, like the ones who fell or want to turn away from listening to the Torah, who abandon Yahweh, how do you abandon Yahweh? How did I abandon you, Yahweh? You didn't listen to the Torah. Who forget my set apart mountain. What do you mean you forgot my set apart mountain? It means that you decided that you're going to go do what you wanted to do. You're going to go sacrifice where you want to. You're going to say that I'm with you. You're going to say that my name is here. You forgot where I put my name. You forgot the tribe that I set. You forgot the house that had my name. You forgot where I put my monument, where my name is set, that he did not set anywhere else. and you prepared a table for a god of luck, and you filled the bowls of mixed wine for Mene, a god of destiny. I will destine you to the sword, and you will all bow down to be slaughtered. Because, why? When I called, and you didn't hear my voice, you did not answer. When I spoke, where did he speak from? From the Torah. You did not hear, you did not obey, you did not shema. But you did what was evil from my point of view. You did evil from my ra'eh. You didn't care about how I saw it. You chose what you wanted to do. You chose what did not please me. You did what you wanted to do. Going back to what we were told, that you're not going to do, everyone's doing what they want to do, but you're not going to do that. And it doesn't mean at that point in time, everyone, when he said you're not going to do what you're doing here today, you're not going to do it. You would think that it only applies then. He's saying the moment that you transferred over to the Jordan, which is called the Jordan River, once we crossed over that river, everything changed. And it's never going back to the same the moment we crossed over. So you're thinking, well, I can do what I want to do because I'm not in the land no more, so it's okay. No, you have to look at what he said and say, okay, can I do this? No. Did he say you got that? No. Well, can I commit murder? No. Can I commit adultery? No. So the covenant hasn't changed. The law hasn't changed. Location changed. Law hasn't changed. But if we fear Yah, and if we do what we are told versus what we choose, that's what he's trying to let us know. If you do what's dysfunctional from my viewpoint, remember, evil is dysfunction. That's what you and I need to abandon. If you don't abandon that, then you're looking at it from your point of view versus what I chose, what I chose. You're going to do what pleases you, not what pleases me. And because of that, you're going to get a guaranteed consequence, a result of I'm going to slaughter you. So don't act like you haven't been warned. Okay? Hallelujah. Praise Yahweh, my soul. I will praise Yahweh as long as I live. I will sing praise to my Elohim all my life. Why, Akika? Because he didn't tell us I'm going to bless Yahweh, because I'm not fit to do that, but I can raise my hands and I can praise Yah. I can praise Yah. I can do that. You can't bless Yah. You can praise Yah. You don't have a blessing yet, but you will if you listen and obey. You understand? So I'm not tying our hands. I want to be clear. I'm just helping us understand what the Most High is saying to us, all of us. Don't get it twisted. Don't say that Yah is here and he's not. Don't put his name somewhere it's not. Don't say that you're not defiled. Don't say any of that. Don't say that you can bless someone. You don't have any power. Say the truth. I'm on punishment. I'm under a curse right now, and I'm not blessed. Watch how people respond. Well, what do you mean you're not blessed? And he explained it to them. Blessing comes through the land. All the tithes and the offerings and everything is all to the land. It's not anywhere else. That's where it's at. That's how simple this is. Okay, your Torah portion for next week is Devarim 16:18 to 21:9. The Haftarah is Yashayahu 51:12 to 52:12. And a meditation, you have 24 chapters to meditate upon. And you can do that all during the week. So it's 24, you divide it by 6, or 7. You can do 4 a day, whatever. You see? That's it. Sorry for taking you over a little bit today. But I want you to understand what the Most High is saying to us. It is very, very clear. If we're going to honor what he said in his word, do not try to bend it, shape it, change it, do anything outside of what he said. Don't let nobody convince you that the place that they say is his name is at, his name is not there. Don't you let them minimize Yahweh so we can maximize how we feel, so we can feel better in our exile, so we make up all these stories. So we'll go to church and we'll go to these locations and you'll be there and we feel like we're close to God, and no, forget about all that. Accept the truth. Sister Sharon, I want to thank you today for your reading. Greatly appreciate y'all. Will be using you more in the future.
You're welcome.
Excellent reading. Hallelujah. Anyone have any questions before we get into our cahoots?
I do. You talked a lot about we can't bless Yah, and I just keep looking at these Psalms where David says, "Bless the Lord, O my soul," or "I will bless
Mhm.
God at all times." Like, was it that David had the authority, or was it the timing? Like,
Well, several things. It is timing. Where was David at?
he was in the land. Okay.
Because I
Okay.
saw that. Yeah, I saw. I said, David blessed y'all. I said, yeah, well, why would he get to bless you? But his soul, why is his soul able to bless you? Because he's in the land. He's in Yah's presence.
Okay.
Where did he live? Where did he live? Where did David live?
Oh, in Jerusalem, right?
Oh, and where's the place that Yah chose?
In Jerusalem, yeah. Okay. I guess I just always felt like if he could say those, we could. And I guess that was just an assumption,
Yeah,
presumptuous
it is.
to think that we can
Yeah,
say
I
what
felt
David did.
yes. Yeah, because we've been taught that we're like King David. We could do whatever he did. He's given us permission to do it. No, 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 no.
Okay.
David also served in the capacity of a Kohanim in some regard. So
Yeah.
he's different. So we have to respect those positions and places and locations. Yah's being very clear. If he said, I scattered you to four corners of the earth and I got you out of your land, he literally means that. So don't get confused. You're not in the land. Yes, Michelle.
So Jerusalem was where Yah chose. Um, what about Shiloh? Shiloh was the first place the ark came to rest. Was that where the people chose?
Yo, yeah, that's the place. Remember, he said, Yah, Dawid said, I want to choose a place for you. I want to put a place where your name is there. Your name. I want your name there. I want you there. And so Yah said, oh, what you said was good. I've always lived in a tent though. But here's the conditions. He gives conditions, right? And then Shlomo built that place, but all the people are supposed to go to that place. All Israel, all Yehuda, all the tribes are supposed to go there. And he chose that tribe. Okay. And he said, this is where I want my name to be. And you can read that in Kings, where he actually warned Shlomo. He said, I put my name here. Now check this out. I gave you my name. I set my name here. That's where I set my name. If you do anything to bring anything against my name, I'm going to destroy this place. And he did, because his name was there. Okay. So is significant. Okay. So us as raggedy exiles, okay, because we're raggedy, no matter how good we look, how hair, look at all that. Yah says that you're raggedy. Okay. And so because these raggedy exiles out here are trying to minimize Yah, right, in order to lift themselves up so they don't feel so bad about where they're at, right? No, we're gonna respect Yah in his teaching. In his class setting here, we're gonna respect him and we're gonna say exactly what he said. We're gonna uphold that because we're learning how to fear Yahweh. These other people don't fear him. I've been in places where they actually made the letters of his name and put it on top of on a desk and said his name is here. He's here. He's here. He's here. He's not here. What are you talking about? Are you insane? Are you out of your mind? This is not a fairy tale. This is real. We're dealing with a living Elohim. We're dealing with somebody that if you touch him or touch something that belongs to him the wrong way, you'll explode. He ain't playing with you and he ain't playing with me. If we got to be able not to cross that line. If he said this is the place, then that's the place. If you don't have the offerings, be quiet. Understand? Well, it's like, okay, guess what? We don't have a blessing. That's all we're messed up right now. He wants you to feel bad. He tells us you should loathe yourselves for how you've acted. How are we not loathing ourselves every time you turn around? We're singing, dancing, celebrating, acting like ain't nothing happened. Yeah, he's mad. He's angry. He's disappointed. And you and I are working our way back to him. We're proving to y'all that we love him. We're proving that. And you're doing that through your daily life. You're doing that through your bloodstream. I'd see, check that out. Bloodstream. Because he checks the bloodstream. Matter of fact, I didn't have a slide for it, but in Isaiah chapter number 66, he said, those who eat pig's meat, I'm going to destroy. How do you know he had pig's meat? Y'all can look in that blood, and he knows what's in that blood. Is there an abomination floating around inside of your bloodstream? Yeah. Because what's in your blood? Oh, that's right. Your soul. Oh, so that's if you eat that, that's why it's affecting your soul. I get it now. You never find that out if you just read English, people. Never. Praise be to Yahweh. I want to thank everyone for coming today, especially those of you who are watching live on YouTube. I want to thank you and I want to say goodbye to you and Shabbat Shalom.